Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching this Congruent Lives production on behalf of the Fullerton Joint Union High School District. Today we're going to be talking about developing relationship skills. Before we get started, let me just briefly introduce myself. My name is Alex Felt. I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I'm going to teach you today about relationship skills so you can win friends and influence people, and maybe become wildly successful. So let's get started. Relationship skills is a skill set that allows a person to develop longer lasting relationships and social supports. People possessing high levels of relationship skills come across as charismatic or social, but don't necessarily have to have a ton of friends or be the center of attention. Self compassion is a key factor in relationship skills, largely because the way we treat ourselves generally determines the way we treat others and develop relationships. Self-compassion is an important aspect of relationship skills. I often tell my clients how we treat others is often reflective of how we treat ourselves. And if someone has a very critical inner voice, they can often come off as critical and have an overall lack of motivation to get work done. Self-compassion has three driving components. The first and probably central characteristic is a gentle and understanding treatment of self. This can look like a friend being kind to themselves if they got a bad grade by saying, "This is something I can learn from." The second is recognizing that other people share a common humanity. This means that we don't have to feel isolated and we can recognize that no human is perfect and we're all just trying to figure things out. So, in a thought process like that, one mistake isn't really the end of the world. Third is mindfulness, which is recognizing and accepting the balance of experience instead of trying to, for instance, avoid sadness and always be happy. This is important because self-compassion extends to one's ability to accept the negatives, like sadness and anger, as a normal part of being human. Self-compassion can be a tricky concept to grasp, so it can be useful to imagine an example to further illustrate the concept. In this example, let's say one of your friends didn't do as well as they wanted to on a history midterm. A student active in practicing self-compassion can view the struggle as part of a journey on the way to better understanding themselves and the ways they can improve. This can look like adjusting the way they study in the future or adjusting habits like staying up late. Your friend also wouldn't find this to mean they are deeply flawed, just more like a bump in the road. And people who do assess things like poor grades as inner flaws often have problems finding motivation and can find themselves feeling more isolated and overall sad. So I got a little exercise here that can be useful to test out our levels of self-compassion. For this exercise, please take out a sheet of paper and a pen and try to be as honest as possible when answering the questions. First, I want you to think about times when a close friend feels really bad about him or herself, or is really struggling in some way. How would you respond to your friend in this situation, especially when you're doing really well? Please write down what you typically do, what you say, and note the tone in which you typically talk to your friends. Now think about times when you feel bad about yourself or are struggling. How do you typically respond to yourselves in the situations? What goes on in your head? What's your inner dialogue? Please write down what you typically do, what you say, and note the tone in which you talk to yourself. Did you notice a difference? If so, ask yourself why. What factors or fears come into play that lead you to treat yourself and others maybe so differently? Now write down how you think things might change if you responded to yourself in the same way you typically respond to a close friend when you're suffering. Why not try treating yourself like a good friend just to see what happens? This has been a presentation by Congruent Lives Inc. on self-compassion. Thank you everyone for watching. If you would like to know more, there's information and links in the description.